Podcast. Today's a very convenient episode, an episode that's open all day, every day, around the clock, and an episode that you can slurpee down as long as you don't mind the brain freeze. Tonight, we take a big gulp out of all the Arsenal news you can drink. So stay tuned, enjoy, and off we go. Thank heavens for Gooners Pod, episode 711. Once upon a time, way back when there were only 9,000 Arsenal podcasts, 5 young men from various backgrounds, an Irish kid with a horrible haircut, a young Jewish nerd who hadn't discovered food yet, a child from Hemel Hempstead who didn't want to be English no more, a handsome advertising magnate with impeccable judgment, and a young Mexican AC Milan fan hatched a plan to take over the world of Arsenal podcasts. But then these boys became men. Jared, Mikey, Eoin, Magic, and Andy. And the rest, my friends, is history. And now, all these years later, you tune in every so often to hear their incredible takes, their football knowledge, and their sensual advice. But now, it's gone too far. You, our fans, are at long last witness to season
7.
Welcome to the Gooners Pod. Hello and welcome everybody to the Gooners Pod, season 7, episode 11. Been a few days since we pod. Busy week at work. Owen went missing. We just finally dragged him out of his hole. Sorry about that, but we're back tonight. We're back tomorrow again, so buckle up and enjoy. Owen, you looking lovely this evening with your typical flashy background.
I'm a man of simple taste, Mike. No, it's good. Do you want to know what? I've actually noticed our subscriber count has actually climbed up slightly over this past week or so. And I think it's down to the brilliant video you did of financially breaking down Arsenal expenditure and the incomings and outgoings and stuff. And I just want to let those people know, don't set the bar too high. That isn't a regular occurrence that we're that intelligent on this podcast.
We're going to be, though. I'm going to be doing more of those over the coming weeks. I just need to find another home and another family to allow me to take the kind of time that I had to put into that episode. But I realized that the whole 7-Eleven thing might not resonate with some of yous in the British Isles.
I actually thought that myself straight away.
Were you wondering, like, what did you know what that was about, or were you like, people aren't going to know what this is about?
No, I knew. Everybody.
Okay,
That's fucking stupid.
Well, 7-Eleven, I did some research, and they used to be in the UK like until the 80s, and then I think they got bought and they left, and they haven't come back yet. Kind of like French just did. Did you just give up on us because I hadn't introduced you yet?
Yeah, I'm disgusted.
Well, I have a process that I follow. So I don't know. Maybe some people are confused about what it's about, but if you are, fuck yous. So tonight we welcome back a man who smells amazing, who's making people laugh for a living. Mostly because he thinks Belgium is located right in that area between Angola and Zambia. A man who has more fake names even than Ian and Owen and Ian. Great to have you back, French Gooner 23. Or can I just call you French Gooner for short?
Yeah, or even just French, man. Like whatever. I'm going with that. Yeah. No, thanks. So I'm on my phone right now because my MacBook battery like crapped out. So that's why I left, and during your introduction it wasn't because I was disgusted. I did like the 7-Eleven thing. Made me think of Simpsons. Apu. So I mean
okay. So,
yeah, we're not that dumb, as Owen says. We
because you lot are too young to remember 7-Eleven. All right. I think we got a little bit of lag, but we'll try to work through it.
Too far away.
Yeah. So first, I want to cover your burgeoning comedy career, French. But first, I have to address the major controversy that came out of your last visit to the pod in September of last year. The press are asking for an explanation. we need to really we need to resolve this. So here's the genesis of the situation. For those of you that didn't join us back in September, listen very carefully to the top shelf analysis of our special guest that day. At the time, we had just beaten Burnley. We were talking about our young new signing by the name of Sambi Lokonga.
Amazing. It's probably not. It's top 6 quality. It's probably not even top 4 quality. It's not an awful midfield pairing. If Sambi has a bad couple of months, or during AFCON, Jack has to step up with maybe Maitland-Niles or whoever's going to be around. It's not the worst thing in the world to have Xhaka to fall back on. So it's not really a concern for me.
All right, so it starts there, and I'm rolling along because look, I'm a podcast host of some 350 some odd episodes. Okay, I'm on the Mount Rushmore of podcasters that are Jewish, overweight, balding, American, and have hot wives. I'm pretty sure I get up there. So let me just explain something to you. When our honored guests have a hot take such as that, I go with it. All right. I mean, right, Owen? I mean, that's what I should be doing. I mean, you go with it. I'm not the type to sit here to just pounce on you, rip you apart, jump on your every mistake, cancel you. I'm the facilitator of sorts, the host. You're the talent, so the expert. So if you say Sambi is going to AFCON, as far as I'm concerned, dude is going to AFCON. So because of what you said, and solely and only because of what you said, this then followed.
I'm not one to make transfer decisions based on AFCON and other relatively short in the grand scheme of things competitions, but it is just now hitting me that Lokonga and Partey will both be gone at the exact same time for potentially a month or more.
All right, so I stuck my foot in it. No, I don't just think the same. I don't. Whatever you're thinking about me, it's not true. I just want to take a closer look because other than my ridiculously stupid goatee, did you notice anything else interesting about that clip?
I didn't actually get to see the clip. It didn't pop up on my thing.
Okay. Well, here's the original clip.
I'm not one to make transfer decisions based on AFCON and other relatively short in the grand scheme of things competitions, but it is just now hitting me that Lokonga and Partey will both be gone at the exact same time for potentially a month or more.
All right, did you see it that time?
No, it's not showing up on my.
All right, well, please forgive
browser.
Forgive our technical difficulties. Oh, and did you see that?
I did not. I seen the clip. I didn't see the difference. So what?
No. Here's what you need to pay special attention to here. All right, and French, you're just gonna have to roll with us because
I'll just take your word for it.
It's not playing on your phone, but if you can't see it in the chat, let me know because it'll then we're just sitting here watching me talk absolute nonsense. But during that clip, pay special attention.
But it is just now hitting me that Lokonga and Partey will both be gone at the exact same time for potentially a month or more. Lokonga and Partey will both be gone at the exact same time for potentially a month or more. The exact same time for potentially a month or more.
All right, so we're gonna explain the bit because French isn't seeing the videos. I basically whilst I was saying that, you were nodding your head vehemently in agreement, further emboldening me with my concept of Thomas Partey and Sambi Lokonga missing in January for the AFCON. Now, this is the reason why I like to pod with a co-host. It's for this exact same reason, because sometimes you need there to be an adult in the room. And strangely enough, in this instance, it was the guy who was half my age. And here's what happened next.
All right. So, Owen, Lokonga, other than AFCON, I mean, is he your nailed on starter in that situation? And we can talk about
he's not eligible for it. He's Belgium international. Is he not?
Why did I let you talk me into that, French? He is Belgian. Well,
He played for
You're right.
Antwerp.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
He's a Belgian international.
Yeah. He plays
Yeah.
for Belgium.
Yeah. He plays for Belgium. French says. So now I'm left like holding the bag. It's like, oh, we've got money to pay in this store, and then someone leaves, and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't have money. Oh yeah, I have it. So I love how you stayed so calm, Owen, because I would have been like,
I remember, and see, this just
he's Belgian. He's not from Africa.
this either
he's actually not eligible for the tournament.
This either speaks volumes to the amount of confidence I have in you, probably wrongly, or the lack of confidence I have in myself. Either of those two things are probably unhealthy. But I remember actually doubting myself, being like, Jesus, if these guys are saying he's, have I made a mistake?
That's why you didn't go all in on us, because you're pretty sure of your concept. I mean, be more secure, because the people in the chat certainly were. I mean, we got hammered in there, but I just love how you're like, no. Actually, he's not eligible. Like he is from Africa, but he didn't register in time or something like that.
He hasn't. Yeah, he chose to play for Belgium.
Path for you two guys who are obviously stars.
So here's the look in our eyes when we realize that something horrible has happened. Watch this.
He's not eligible for it. He's Belgium international. Is he not? He's not eligible for it. He's Belgium international. Is he not?
We're just frozen. We just can't even I'm like, let me figure out how bad this is.
No, see, I'm wondering how far I should dig myself down in the hole. Should I double down?
At this point,
I could double down, and I could be like, well, he should play for his African. Do you know what I mean? I could have got, and I was in my head, I was calculating it, and I was like, can I be bothered to make this statement on this YouTube video? But I feel like that's a whole different discussion. But yeah, there's a case to be made. I could double down on my statement and be like, Sambi, listen, I know you don't play for your African nation, but
you should.
Maybe it's not too late. I don't know. The Belgium, they're not exactly loved for their reputation for what they've done in Africa. So maybe ditch the Belgium, play for your African country. I think I could convince him. If I can convince Owen that he should play for him, then I could probably convince Sammy that he actually plays for Congo.
Owen actually.
I actually don't know where he's from.
Owen actually plays for Belgium now. But this is how it ends. Obviously, my attempt at damage control didn't work, and this will end the reminiscing from last year. With this final clip. Before anyone casts aspersions upon me making assumptions, I was just following along with.
He literally played for Belgium in the last international break.
And now I'm gonna get canceled here. French and I are just gonna get.
I thought it was just maths. I didn't know you did countries.
I don't. I do math and Jewish holidays, so those are my two things.
But yeah. I mean, the point still is that if he is bad for a couple of seasons.
Please get me out of this, though.
Yeah, no, you're good. I'll get you out of it. Unfortunately, I think that he doesn't have the personnel to do that just yet.
Okay, so I thought that was going to be the last podcast, but apparently not. So anyway, French, welcome back to the pod. What are we going to do today that we could talk about next year?
You're on mute.
Back to Australia, the nation that he plays for, and I'm just kind of, mad about that. You tell me, bro, because for me, I don't know what's really going on at the moment with Arsenal. Like, we're in a little bit of a lull. It feels like we're sort of waiting for some stuff to happen. But I'm sure you've.
Oh, we got some stuff to talk about. I mean, the title of the show is Raphinha, Schmafina, but we'll get to Raphinha Gate in a minute. But the one other kind of by way of introduction thing, we want to catch everyone up on your career, because you're not just an Arsenal supporter. You're not just a guy with actual hair, unlike myself and Owen. You're an aspiring and climbing professional comedian right now. So catch us up on your career. I think you've been getting up, and I'm essentially basically putting you at the pinnacle of your career already. I tend to get excited.
Yeah. You definitely are. All right. Well, let's be absolutely clear. I'm not quite professional in the sense that this is not my full-time living kind of profession. I've been doing gigs for about 7-8 months now. I've racked up about 70 odd gigs. So I've been going pretty hard, and it's been very fun. Obviously, I'm from Bristol, UK, so I've been doing a lot of gigs around the southwest kind of circuit. And then just recently started our own night. At Cozy's in St. Paul's in Bristol. If people know Bristol, they know St. Paul's. And it's the only comedy night in St. Paul's, which is nice. It's like the traditionally African Caribbean area of Bristol. And so
is there an open mic spot available for Owen and I?
We'll let you in. No, it's, it's that's the area, but that's just from the history. Obviously, most other comedy nights just tend to be like mostly white middle class, because that's the demographic of people that tend to go to the city center in Bristol.
It fit in so perfectly, Mike.
That's my middle name, actually. My middle name is Mike. White
middle class, upper class,
or middle class, whatever you
Mike
said.
Wasp Feinberg. Well, no, you're obviously not Wasp. Yeah. So yeah.
No, actually, Waspenstein was my original last name. I shortened it to Feinberg for stage purposes. for my career. Well,
see when people are looking on French. This is one thing I don't think people understand with comedy, is that you think one of your mates is funny, and you think people that you meet down the pub is funny. How different is it getting up on stage in front of an audience and trying to construct a set?
Man, yeah, that's it's very, very true, because what's funny to you and your mate is not necessarily funny to a room full of strangers. And you might think that, you've come up with the most hilarious shit because you and your friends are fucking dying over it. You sit in front of a room full of people and just like, what is this guy talking about? So there's an element of understanding kind of crowd dynamic, and an element of being able to read rooms, and generally understanding kind of how to come up with jokes, because I think it's not necessarily
right. Like the pacing of the jokes makes a big difference, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's that's a performance element. So people are either, if you're a good comedian, stand-up comedian, they tend to be either good writers or good performers. And sometimes people are both, and they'll rise to the very top, and you can tell. But a lot, it's kind of, even like for someone to do one set, it's obviously very brave, and what I say very brave. I actually don't think it's fucking brave. I think it's you can get up on stage and kind of just say, it's my first time doing stand-up comedy, and people in the UK, especially in Bristol, are quite nice, so they'll generally be quite supportive and stuff. But you actually have to, to be honest, the people that go the furthest and then do go to that professional stage and go further, it tends to be people who work very hard at it, rather than people who maybe are the funniest even necessarily, because there's you have to be able to control every single kind of different room and all this sort of thing. So yeah, it's a lot of graft, but it's a lot of fun. And it's
almost like I've watched a lot of shows about comedy, and like it's almost kind of like, how they say when you get in jail for the first time, you go and punch the biggest guy you see, because you got to show that you're not afraid of being there. Like if you and I'm not telling you what your craft is like, but it just seems to me that like half of it is appearing. I mean, if you show that you're nervous or that you're worried that you're going to get, booed off the stage, or that what you're saying isn't funny, then it just will not come back out as funny, no matter how funny it actually is.
Absolutely. And that's what, even if people are supportive, then automatically it's kind of less funny. Like, and there's absolutely something
they start to feel bad for you.
If you've got like a heckler, you can't try and appeal to people's better nature. Like, that's not going to work on a stage, because actually people want to see someone bomb as well. That's really enjoyable. That's a nice element of a comedy night, and no one enjoys it more than the other comedians, by the way. Like, we're just sitting in the back just like, because everyone's done it. And so it's kind of like, we know what it feels like. And so it's even more funny to see someone go through it. But yeah, you can't appeal to people's better nature. If someone's heckling you, you can't try and like appeal to their better nature. There's different ways to deal with a heckler. You can deal with them in different ways, but yeah, most most people will just clap back harder, and really you shouldn't be trying to mess with a comedian, because anyone worth their salt is going to make you just look like a fool, and it's quite easy to get the whole crowd against one person who thinks they're funnier than everyone else, so
yeah,
it's always a lot of fun.
Mad respect for what you're doing. I mean, I really think it's kind of one of the hardest things to do, and I just, while you were talking, came up with an idea that I think would be great for me. I mean, I sometimes in my group chats and stuff, I'll say something that look, I'm sorry, I think it's fucking hilarious. Like I've lost control of my bowels from WhatsApp chats in my house before. Now, if I could just create like a WhatsApp comedy club and just perform there, like, hey, I'm lazy. I don't have to actually go anywhere, and I don't have to climb those steps to get up on the stage. But like, if I could just, give me a little bit of time, I don't have to get my timing right. I just put it in the WhatsApp chat, and people will go crazy and pay for that, right?
Build up like a 30, 40, 50 people like WhatsApp group, and just send in videos of yourself.
Exactly. Well, not videos. I'll just type stupid stuff in there, and like, when you when you got the pudding pop and the all right, that was my Bill Cosby imitation. One of my Bill Cosby imitations. The other one I'm not doing on camera. All right, so we do have a clip of you that I found online.
Oh yeah.
It's a short clip of a joke. It's not the entire joke, because I actually didn't want to go where the joke ends up going. But tell me if you recognize this.
I don't know if I'll see it.
And when I was at school, fucking middle class white kids getting away with murder, literally.
All right. So could you not hear or see that? God, all right. Well, this is pretty much the end of the videos. So we won't have to. It won't be a recurring theme that you have no idea what we're talking about. But it was you in a comedy club talking about how you went to a middle class school with white kids who got away with murder, literally.
Oh yeah.
And what I love about that more than the joke itself is the captions of the joke. And again, you're not going to see this, but this is what I clipped from that. At some point, they like you make some sort of noise, and it goes unintelligible French noise. Like it's saying what you're saying, and then it says unintelligible French noise, and
yeah,
like, how dare they? That wasn't an unintelligible French noise. It was an intelligible French noise.
No, I do make those sounds. That is a French thing. Like, that's kind of like a very French kind of like hesitation, kind of break, like give myself a second to say something smarter kind of sound. So yeah, I remember that. Yeah. That was a gig in Bath. That was a fun gig. That was the reason I like that joke as well, as you could see there, is like I delivered, like I came up with that kind of tweak on the actual joke, just saying they get away with murder, literally. And I'd done it once before that night, and it worked well. And I did it then, and they got kind of absolutely nothing. And then I obviously, I know you cut the bit out, but then I kind of added a topper to it that managed to kind of get the laugh, which I enjoyed, because it's kind of that idea of not giving up just because the normal punchline that is there,
it did get the better laugh. It was about school shootings, and it's a bit of a sore subject over here, but no, I mean, if I was in the room at the time, I would have laughed as well. So, but I had to get that unintelligible French noise thing, because I just thought that was bang out of order. A few of you in the chat are putting in questions. Please continue to do that. We're saving them for later. Quick shout out to Drago, Bulgarian Gooner, Mark Bakredan, Lynn Simpson, Fergus is in here from Guns and Yellow Ribbons, Mohammed the Bear, Mark My Words is back, and I'm not kidding. You better mark them. BX Gunner, HFN. Who else is in here? Christian 312 Gooner, good to see you, buddy. Moss from Canada, Easy Isle, Fan Giroux, Craig from Fort Lauderdale's in the Hizzle. Ugo, EB, Lou Weed, Patrick Carlson. So that's pretty much going back to the beginning. So thanks for being in here, and welcome Loki as well. The very last video that we're going to play, and then we'll get into Raphinha, is a player who I think is more talented than Raphinha, frankly. He's retired at the young age of 18 from competitive football, but the techers that you're about to see here have me thinking that he might be a better option for the Arsenal. So just have a little look at this practice session here. Since practice sessions are always seen from Arsenal, you'll see this from a footballer named Jaquinho Feinberginho.
Oh yes! Oh, after the around the world. Oh, that was nice.
All right, so French, let me describe it to you. I should be like the person in the corner doing the sign language and stuff, but so basically he's doing a lot of keepy uppies. He does an around the world, hits it back in front of him, takes one hop and goes top bins. Now there's no keeper in the net. Let's just be clear about that. But I mean, Ramsdale couldn't even have saved that. I mean, there's no way. Oh, and how excited are you for his trial at the Arsenal?
I come from a really backwards place where that stuff gets your legs broke on a football pitch.
Well, yeah, I don't think you probably would have done the 12 keepy uppies and the around the world if someone was defending.
Stick to your guns, bro. That's what you have to do. No place for that shade.
Well,
it's impressive though. Well done, Jake.
I mean, the guy's just got he's able to do things with his feet he's never able to do, and I don't know where I will take that comment from here, but that's about it. If you came here for Arsenal, now you're getting some Arsenal. Raphinha gate. I mean, he's going Barca. Wait, no, he's coming to Arsenal. No, now he's going to Chelsea. No, okay, Leeds is going to hold on to him. Now it's Barca again. Edu's a disgrace again, of course. What the hell is going on, man? I mean, Raphinha, 25-year-old winger, clearly from the Ivory Coast, talented player, but this drama is all a bit too much. I mean, is anyone with me? French, what do you make of the player? What do you make of the drama? How's it going to end?
Twerking for Barca, isn't he? Twerking for Barca. Deco is just offering him as much as he can. It's clear he wanted to go there from the get-go. Personal terms were agreed with Barcelona months ago. And obviously, the idea was Leeds might get relegated, and I think they would have got him on the cheap. And then, obviously, they didn't get relegated, so Leeds want 60 million. And so they're obviously just trying to squeeze the most money out of the deal as they can. I think that they're kind of holding out. The previous to last report was that they were holding out, right, for Chelsea, whereas now we're hearing Barcelona may be willing to match the 60 million bid or something. I think the player probably doesn't, well, I don't know, it's speculation. I think he wants to go to Barcelona. I think that's very clear. Whether or not he'd have a preference between Arsenal or Chelsea, I don't know. You know, there's arguments to say, obviously Chelsea have Champions League, but then he might end up playing wing back. He's not going to be necessarily a primary player in that kind of system. Whereas at Arsenal, you know, he'd be, you know, starting every game kind of thing. So there's, I don't know, you know, that might just be more a question of who's to offer him more. And then you're hearing questions of 240k on the wages and stuff, and you're thinking, I'm not trying to offer some 7 goal a season, like never scored them more than 7 non-penalty goals in a season, including in League One. Pepe was banging more numbers than that in League One. So I don't know, 240k a week for that. It starts to sound a little bit nuts to me.
Dude is talented. I don't think there's any question about that, but it's not like it's not like he's Kylian Mbappe or something just waiting to explode. I mean, I think we might have seen what we're going to see from him, albeit in a system or a team with teammates that aren't as quality as the next team he's going to make the leap to. I think we got the Brazilian advantage now on Chelsea as well, which is unusual, although, you know, they have Deco, but pulling strings. But I think from a teammate perspective, he'd probably fit in better at Arsenal. But I mean, he can ultimately control this, Owen, couldn't he? I mean, like if he's getting a better wage packet from Barca and he wants to go to Barca, and Barca are saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're so poor, we can only give you 50," and Chelsea's giving him 60. I mean, Leeds' choices basically are keep him or tell him to go or sell him to Barca, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I stuck that into our WhatsApp group earlier, is that he's in the driving seat here for me, because I think he's got a remaining 2 years left on his deal. And he's seemingly stalling on every front of the transfer. You know, Arsenal, by all accounts, have been moving quite aggressively in this window. And I wouldn't imagine that they've changed their approach for Raphinha. I'd say that they've put decent money on the table. They've been negotiating with Leeds. And it's, I think it's just a case of the player is just stalling. You know, if he is looking a high profile move, Chelsea come in, agree a fee with Leeds, seemingly, as French mentioned, plus £200,000 a week wage packet on offer, Champions League football. There's no reason why he wouldn't accept that if he wasn't waiting on Barcelona. And for me, if I'm being honest with you, I think that if he is stalling and waiting on Barcelona, he must have some sort of reassurances from Barca that they're going to be able to make this deal work somewhere or another. Obviously, the Frankie de Jong links with Man United would be an intake of cash for them to maybe make this deal possible. Another thing that I read, I'm not sure how true that is as well, is that they're rejigging some way their TV rights percentage to make more money available to them. So that could be a case of, it's just a case of money moving around. If you're asking me to hinge any bets, my bet is that he is a Barcelona player, which is mental when you think of the fact that Barcelona have players in their team at the minute that they can't register due to their financial situation. So they already have too many players that they can't even register, and yet they're going to go out and fork out another heap of money on another player. That it's insane.
I read I read a brief headline about the whole Barcelona rights TV rights deal. I haven't dug into it yet. It's the type of thing that interests me. But at first glance, just based on the headline, it sounds like they're essentially doing something called factoring, which is you have a bunch of accounts receivable, you know, money that you will be paid, and they're exchanging it for a smaller amount of money that you can get in your pocket right now. You know, so they're commoditized, well, not commoditizing, but they're securitizing their future income flows into like another type of equity that a company owns now. And if you do well and Spain gets another huge La Liga deal and Barcelona participates in that, it's going to be a lot of money for the investor, Sixth Street Bank. But they're going to get the money right now to be able to continue on. But eventually, they're just kicking the can down the road with that shit.
But I'll be honest, and I don't often do this, but simply for the reaction of the Chelsea fan base on Twitter, I'm sort of cheering that Barcelona move on. If I'm being honest with you, if he's going anywhere, I would rather him go there.
There'll be dominoes that fall if that happens.
Yeah, because I do believe that he is a very good player. But what I would say is that if we're talking 60 plus million and £200,000 a week, I would much rather see that divvied up and distributed throughout the squad. You know, the Tielemans deal is still there to be got if Arsenal want to reapproach that for around 25 million, and I don't think he would be anywhere near that mark of wages a week. You know, this Lisandro Martinez deal that we can talk about later. There's other places in the squad that are more important at this minute, that are higher priority, and I think to go and try and prioritise the Raphinha deal, whilst it would be good, whilst it wouldn't be against him as a player coming into Arsenal, there's higher priority places that money can go.
And yeah, this doesn't need to be the one that we just bend over backwards and say, you know what, let's get this done at any cost. And the thing that I didn't anticipate when I put together that the financial show last weekend, if you haven't seen it, just go to our YouTube page. It's called Magic Mike Shows You the Money. But and thank you, Harry, for your compliment. You know, I made some assumptions based on the wages that players were currently earning, knowing that we'd be giving them a huge pay rise, in many cases doubling or slightly more than doubling their wage. But Raphinha's on 63,000 now, I think, with Leeds. I anticipated maybe his wage next year would be about 125, 140 at most. But if he's talking 240, that changes things tremendously, because not only is it an extra £5.5 to £6 million a year for the next 5 years, which is, you know, that is the same money that you would use to spend on a 25 on Tielemans' transfer fee alone. At 25 million on a 5-year contract, you're paying 5 million a year. The difference between 140 and 240 a week in wages is 5 million a year. Same thing, same pot of money. I know it's transfers versus wages, but it's coming from the same thing. So, that's a big deal. And it also upsets the entirety of makes him the highest paid player, depending on what Jesus is getting. And it further complicates the Saka contract extension and so on and so forth. So, that the wage thing just blew me away, because if it's 240, then I'm out of the Raphinha game altogether. He can go fuck himself or fuck over another team, as far as I'm concerned. And there are, then we turn our attention maybe back to Cody Gakpo, who to me seemed raw when I saw him play in person, but that was just one game. He's certainly flexible, could play at the 9 if we need him, and maybe a little bit more of a long-term play than Raphinha would be even. So,
but French, he mentioned there Cody Gakpo. Who are realistic alternatives? We talk about that price fee of around 50 to 60 million, even say 30 to 40 million. What alternatives can you see that are realistically out there that we could go for?
Well, I mean, the thing I like about how I feel Arsenal are moving at the moment is, like, obviously we had the Vieira deal come through, and like we didn't even realize that we were in for him until, like, just before he was already coming in for his medical and signing the papers, sort of thing. Even the Raphinha deal, we've apparently been working on that for a while, and we haven't we didn't really know about it until we kind of started actually talking about putting bids in, so that's something that we'd been interested in, apparently, I don't know, since before the end of the season, but I don't think anyone really thought that was a serious link. We've been talking about Gakpo, about these other players. So I mean, you're seeing names like Gakpo being mentioned. You're seeing names like Noah Lang popped up, and I think I saw that you were super against that as well. I don't know. There's a few connections, but what I really think,
Elise from Crystal Palace.
Yeah, Elise is one that I'm seeing mentioned. I don't know if there's actual links there necessarily, but you're seeing that. I mean, Harvey Barnes, if we're talking about names being mentioned, Harvey Barnes is one that's popped up quite a bit that I'd be pretty interested in, slapping 50 million.
Who's the Barnes that we hate? That's Ashley Barnes we hate, right? Harvey Barnes we don't hate.
Yeah.
Tell me who I hate. I need to be reminded who I hate.
Harvey Barnes is all right.
Okay.
He's good, man. Like, if he's a good player. From passes the eye test, passes the stats test, kind of jumps off the page. I think he had some issues with injuries, but if we could grab him and Tielemans off Leicester, that would be lovely, wouldn't it? Was that
the West Ham guy as well?
Which West Ham?
Jared Bowen.
Yeah.
Oh nah, I don't want Bowen, man. I don't, too much Brexit FC, man. I'm cool on that. No, I don't know. I'm not crazy on Bowen.
Another English core?
I don't really buy the Bowen hype, huh?
You don't want another English core?
It's not. To be honest, I just don't really buy the Bowen. Like, I'm not crazy on, like, if we had like a Bellingham come in, I'm not going to say I don't want Brexit FC, but Bowen is just, I don't know. He's a little bit. I feel like he's a little bit of a basic player. We probably have to play him in. He's definitely not, for me, going to be moving Saka out of that position. Raphinha, you can have a conversation about what we do with Saka, but we're not playing Bowen over Saka in that position. I don't know how effective he is from other places. So, but what I was going to say was, I like the fact that a lot of people who I'm seeing are not really that worried about the fact that we're not getting Raphinha, because there's some kind of idea that, look, we've got some money to spend. These guys are working to a plan, and we've already put in some nice names. Obviously, Jesus we've known about for a while, so that might feel less exciting, but that's still a brilliant signing. Vieira was out of the blue, which was really nice. The chase for Raphinha was kind of showing us that we've got money. We're looking for serious targets. So I think a lot of people are kind of sitting back and thinking, all right now it feels like we might be waiting to see what Raphinha does, which doesn't feel great, but that might not be the case, because we didn't know Vieira was happening. So they might very well be working on it in the background.
I think people are sleeping so hard on that Vieira deal. I think that people have just brushed that under the rug far too quick. I've actually went back and looked at him a lot and looked up his Y Scout stats and stuff like that. And
it's people who want to say we've only signed I keep calling him Paulinho, Marquinhos and this Vieira guy that no one knows. I mean, I think we've snatched up an absolute diamond.
It's very exciting, that player. Very exciting profile. His goal scoring record is really exciting as well. You look at, he's an end product guy, but he's also like a possession ball retainer. I think people are looking at like, yeah, he's a little bit skinny. You see the arms, they're saying he needs to hit the gym and stuff. But I mean, Bettino bulked up real quick, Get him on the cycle.
Get him on
who
some
else
of
is
those
excited about
Bayern
Vieira?
Munich supplements.
Vieira is also exciting to Jared Bowen, because so exciting that he got his girlfriend pregnant and now they're staying in London instead of going to Liverpool, apparently. So
okay,
thank you, Fergus, always with the inside news from Fergus.
Nice.
So just quick maths.
Wait, so what's the logic that you can't raise a baby in Liverpool? Like, I don't see why.
I've never been able to successfully raise a baby in Liverpool, but that doesn't mean that he couldn't. I mean, I don't know why, So not to again turn it into a financial podcast, but when you look at the wage bill, which if you watch the financial podcast, the wage bill includes prorated transfer fees. So, you could spend a lot more money on transfer fees if the guy's not going to command that much wages, and vice versa, which is why you always see free transfers getting way too high wages. Pablo Mari, almost a free transfer. Cedric on 75. Kolasinac on 100. Ridiculousness. But Raphinha on 65 million over 5 years and 240 a week is a 25 million pound. Did I say dollars? I hate when I do that. 25 million pound obligation every year for the next 5 years. 125 million pounds committed. Cody Gakpo, if we assume he's on 140 a week, and I don't even know that would be what we need to pay him.
Yeah, I'm not even sure.
He's younger. He's at the stage where he could be very good. He's not known to be very good yet. He's very raw. Again, even if he was on 140 a week and cost 40 million, that comes out to a total of 15 million a year, 8 in transfer fee and 7 in wages, 15 a year for the next 5 years. It's 10 million a year less, 50 million over the length of the contract. He's a little bit younger as well, and can play more positions, I think. And that's just a huge difference. And that's if he's on 140 and we pay 40. If he's a 35 or 30 million pound transfer and he's on 100, then it's even more. And that is the way that Arsenal are thinking now, as opposed to the way United think, Chelsea think, and Arsenal used to think from a, we're going to, they seem to think that Arsenal in years past that just pay much higher wages to get them to come, and would like mince words over $1 million here, $1.2 million on the transfer fee. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, it never did. And now they really seem to be thinking differently. They're using a more holistic kind of way of evaluating finances. And, honestly, between Raphinha and Gakpo, I think the one who would have the more impact right away is Raphinha, but I think the one who would be better for our team in the long run is Gakpo. My dream, Nkunku, but he just doesn't seem to be headed anywhere, at least for the next year or so. They just extended his contract at Salzburg. Is it Salzburg or Leipzig? It's a Leipzig.
Doesn't he have a release clause of like 60 million there in that extension?
Yeah. I'm sure there's something tied to that. I don't know. I mean, I think that guy would be a dream replacement in my opinion.
Well, Emery wanted him. That's what they were saying, isn't it? Emery would have got him in if we had his targets. We would have won the league. But yeah, no. So
we can always bring him back, Emery. I mean, none of the players that none of the players that like forced him out and made fun of his accent and shit are still here anyway. So, the idea of kind of messing up our wage structure and making stupid mistakes, that like we obviously did it kind of a little bit with Pepe, where we went all out for a player who had one really good season in a different league and wasn't. To be fair, Raphinha I think is probably more of a priority target for Arteta than Pepe was for Emery, but it was we obviously overpaid for something that was relatively unsure, and I think we're obviously hesitant to make that mistake again. And then if you look at like a Chelsea, their track record with forwards, I said this recently, has not been great. They're just kind of throwing money at your Pulisic's, at your Havertz, Werner, Ziyech, Lukaku. Every summer it's a few hundred. They got a conveyor belt to these guys, man. I mean, and it's like they've got the money to get away with it and still win stuff because they can just keep throwing money. But you look at it, it's not as smart. That's not how we want to operate, And right Chelsea now, it looks like they're already. Sorry, man. I don't mean to keep talking over you. I know I've done it a lot today, but it's kind of this just slight delay on the connection that we're having. But plus, I'm just rude. They could. I mean, what's wrong with having Mount and Tammy Abraham and like if they had just kind of progressed their young players through, they wouldn't be bad. Instead, they spent, and I'm talking like combined wages and all that. They spent like 400 million pounds on 3 or 4 players, Lukaku, Ziyech, the ones you've just mentioned, Werner, Havertz, who may end up coming good, but they certainly didn't have fantastic starts in their most recent stints. And
I think we can say Lukaku's not going to come good.
I don't think so. Not at Chelsea anyway. But it's just they spent so much money and kept their. And then Tammy Abraham probably would have been a successful guy there if they had just given him the opportunity.
Well,
they kept putting people in front of him.
Abraham,
Ended up the same way.
14 goals he scored, I think. 14 goals under Frank Lampard, and no one's outscored Tammy Abraham since he left. Like since that season, there's not been a single player to score 14 goals. So, yeah, this is what I'm saying. And so, like, if they're making those mistakes, and this summer it looks like all right, they wanted to hijack the Richarlison deal with Tottenham this morning. We heard they were in for that, trying to hijack the Raphinha deal. They're getting Sterling. There were talks of like he was discussing something with Ronaldo, the Bowley fella. So they don't look like they really have any clear plan. They're just trying to throw money around. And like if that's what they want to do, fair enough. But I'm kind of glad Arsenal are not considering paying that. I hope they're not considering paying 240 or whatever those reported prices are. So yeah. And I wanted to ask you, are you concerned? Are you like worried about that position? Because I wouldn't say that I feel worried about it. I feel like I'm almost curious to see what we're going to do next, rather than be like, oh shit, we didn't get Raphinha. Oh no.
No, I'm not like, worried about it. I'd love more depth there. I mean, I'm not worried about it, but I also wasn't like worried about it when I thought we were getting him. I wasn't like, why are we doing this? And now I'm not like, why aren't we doing this? I'm ambivalent about it because that's pretty much our strongest position in our entire 11. Or in our entire squad.
I was so up for it, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I mean, it was exciting more because it was kind of like a show of intent, and as long as we didn't just do that exactly. and then not get the butcher. I mean, look, I will re-up with Arsenal for another 100 years if we sign the butcher, just because I want the butcher. I don't know if you've noticed, if you've watched any of our recent show, but I am all in on the goddamn butcher.
I actually reckon that as soon as
Butcher
the Raphinha link sort of had died off and it had sort of steered away from us slightly, I actually think that a potentially a more sensible move as well would be to go for a different profile of striker instead of a wide forward, because we all know Gabriel Jesus can perform on the right side as well. So if Saka's absent, drop Gabriel Jesus to the right hand side and go for a different profile of striker, somebody a bit big, more direct, and it potentially means you've always got that other option there.
Well, you know who can play in that position and play like that and is big and is direct. He's just a little raw. Cody Gakpo. So, I'm thinking like, maybe putting together and a little Martinelli like. And there's another guy who, if need be, I don't think we're going to be literally just down to Nketiah and Gabby Jesus in the number 9 position, no matter what, with injuries and otherwise. I mean, I don't think our next step from those two is Tyrese John Jules or even Balogun. I think it could be one of the guys that we're bringing in that can be a little bit more flexible, or, Martinelli. It just depends on how long that would end up needing to be the case. But let's talk a little bit about, because you just mentioned Richarlison. Spurs, I mean, the Basuma move now, especially with the inevitable, clearance of those charges, looks like a shrewd deal. But some of the other stuff they're doing seems a lot like what Everton would do and has done, and didn't work out for them. I mean, maybe it's just wishful thinking, but I mean, French, are they really making impactful long-term? I mean, I think we're seeing the impact of having a coach who comes and signs a 9 or an 18-month contract.
Yeah, every time a lot of people have said this. Like,
Sorry, go ahead.
I think a lot of people have said this. Like if Eddie was to have this kind of like season in terms of transfers incoming, like I think it's Fraser Forster, Perisic, Jed Spence's, debating whether or not he wants to come out of the Championship to come to Tottenham.
That would be a good signing,
Richarlison. I think Bissouma's the only one that we would all agree is a quality player. And so, yeah, if Eddie was to have that kind of like transfer window, people would be calling for his head. These aren't signings to bring you up to the next level. There may be, I don't know what the hell their transfer. I don't care what their transfer strategy is. I see an aging team there that is, their best player wants to go, and if he doesn't go, well, he's fucking 31 and not getting any less injured. So I think their ceiling is their ceiling, and like I don't see them kind of increasing past that. But I do find it quite funny, the kind of narrative people are saying Bissouma is better than, they're putting Bissouma and Partey in the same sentence as if they're even like kind of similar players, as if he could play that role, that lone six role. And people are saying, Richarlison, walks into the 11. I don't rate Richarlison at all. We were linked to him a few times, and I've never rated him. I didn't like the look of him. I think he's got like, he bounces around, he runs into people a lot, but I don't think he's got a good. He hits the ball hard. He's not got a cultured shot on him. He's not got a cultured
and there's
touch.
never been a more hateful cunt to suit more of a hateful cunt club.
Well, that's true. Yeah, he definitely suits him in terms. Yeah.
Where did he move to Everton from? Was it Watford?
Watford, yeah.
And it was a huge money move. Like that, people were like, they spent 53 million on who or whatever that number was. Like I don't even think Everton made their money back. I mean, I think they just about made their money back, which is impressive considering I don't think he's a 53 million pound player then, and I don't think he is now. I don't think he sucks. I mean, it's not a bad sign. It's not a bad signing for a team to make, but they certainly seem to have like I'll tell you what their transfer strategy is, French. Their transfer strategy is that they are fucked if they don't make the top four right now.
Absolutely. To be honest, I think he's
more
a bum.
than we are.
I think Richarlison is a bum. If you look at his stats over the last 3 years, they're the same as Lacazette's. He's played 10 more games and scored 3 more goals and 2 less assists than Lacazette. And we don't rate Lacazette. And Lacazette is a 29-year-old, this is a guy coming into his prime he's not putting up any kind of numbers. He's not a nice player to watch play. I would say I reckon he's a bum, to be honest.
I mean, we'll see. He could surprise us. I don't know, but
see the Bissouma deal. Can I just get your opinion on this here? Obviously, with the allegations hanging over his head and potential charges at the time of purchase, I know people said that surely Tottenham got some sort of reassurances. Do you think the fact that nobody else went in for a player of his ability, because I think we can all agree that Bissouma is a fantastic footballer and arguably one of the best in his position and the best in his roles in the Premier League at doing what he does, but were Tottenham taking a gamble going for a player like Bissouma? Do you think that's why they got him, simply because they were the only club willing to take that risk at that time? Or do you really buy into the fact that they had some sort of reassurances?
I don't personally know enough about what Daniel Levy's like kind of connections are in terms of what he'd be able to get a hold of. A lot of people are speculating that, and I understand why they say that, but I know definitely, like, you hear it in the interview when he comes there and he talks about it. He's like, I really want to play Champions League. My dream is to play Champions League, And
enjoy it for one season, my friend.
Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. And I wouldn't really, and that's the thing that kind of puts you off a bit about Raphinha. Like, how much do you actually want to be here? Because if it's like you come for Champions League and then now next season you're not in the Champions League, now you've got a player who doesn't really want to be there like that. Like, I don't really want that. So I think you're right. I think probably a lot of teams were staying away. Whether or not they had assurances, I don't know. But I'm sure probably other teams didn't. Let's put it that way. Whether or not Spurs did, I don't know. But other teams definitely didn't. And so people were sort of staying away. And then Spurs just were like, obviously, took their chance. And yeah, man, he didn't look happy in that video.
I pushed back a lot at the concept when they signed him that they knew he was going to get let off. I just didn't believe that they would have had those insurances. I believe that they might have felt like there wasn't a huge risk, but there was still risk. And frankly, whether you have some inside knowledge or not, it's kind of a PR situation. And, your fan base, you have to worry about, and I'm not just talking about the the people who don't give a shit about sexual assault charges. I'm just talking, they just care if you win games. I'm not talking about that lot. I'm talking about the ones who care about it all, and it's a factor for them. And that, I'm in that group. It's a factor. If he were to get, be found guilty of that, it would be a stain on not just him but on the club.
Yeah,
so,
and I don't buy the fact that they, like you said, had any reassurances whatsoever, because the nature of the system, Mike, the way it works, the way it's processed, there's no way that they could have had any reassurances. They maybe had an inkling as to what way that the investigation was going, but there was no positive assurance.
Here's the thing, though. I tended to agree with that, but I mean, like 8 days in between the signing and the news, like this thing's been pending since October, and they sign him on, I'm just guessing the date, like June 20th and June 28th or something. Like I'm at the point now where I do kind of think they maybe had some sort of information, or something was said to them. Maybe someone in the court system is a spud and leaked some news inside. I mean, I don't know, and I don't care. If he were still with Brighton and found out 2 days ago that he had been cleared and the price was still 25, I would want Arsenal to go in on it. But I didn't and don't have wanted us to have gone in on him in that situation. But, as to whether they had some knowledge or not about it, I think they probably, there's a good chance that they might have, just because it's too coincidental how bang, bang, bang those things happen. So in any case, let's do some user questions. We got some earlier. We want to go back and highlight some of those. This one came from the very beginning of the podcast, and there's nobody better to answer this question than French.
I reckon he's a potential breakout player this season. I honestly believe that. I definitely think he's a potential breakout player of the season. I think the first half of last season was ESR's. The season before was Saka's season. I mean, there's a lot of players you could say. You could say Martinelli might have a great one, but I think just with Lokonga, you can clearly see the talent is there, the mentality is there. He doesn't kind of hide after he makes a mistake. He doesn't disappear completely. He might make a couple more mistakes, but he doesn't disappear. And I think the talent is clearly there. So for me, it's just about getting time. And we've got Europa League, which, is annoying in one way, but in the other way, it means that we definitely are going to be playing a lot of our squad. Our whole squad is going to play because, they're not like do or die games, so he's going to get a lot of starts in that Europa League. And I think he's a potential breakout player next season.
Oh, and could you do
maybe
worse?
In that left-sided 8 role.
Yeah, I mean, could you do worse than
not necessarily as the party replacement. Maybe he's not quite that yet, but left 8.
Oh, could you do worse than having Elneny and Lokonga play in the group stages of the Europa League just to get us past the Farmer League teams?
No, and I think not to make excuses for being out of Champions League, but in terms of building a young squad, I think this is the difference between Champions League and Europa League. You don't have that grace with Champions League football. Every game is a must-win, whereas a lot of these games in the Europa League is good for bedding in players like that. And I'll be honest, last season with Sambi Lokonga, I think that he was pretty unfortunate because I think it through Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey's absences in different timings that he did get a prolonged run in the team, and he was actually arguably our best player at that part of the season. And then when Granit Xhaka eventually returned, he was taken straight back out of the team, and he never really recovered from that, if I'm being honest with you. I think he's potentially been sort of beaten with a stick that was never meant to be there for him to be beaten with, which is that he's a player for the future. He isn't somebody who's coming in to immediately impact the squad. And I think that when you look at the profile of this team in general, he's one of those ones that will grow with the team over time. But yeah, man, it's just people just cast aspersions on some players far too quickly, and they don't take them off them fast enough either. New season for Lukonga, new start, and for me, I agree with French. I think he's going to be one of the breakouts this season.
New country for him and everything. The thing that we don't know anything about Sambi Lukonga about is his personality, his role, his how he fits into the team socially and all of that. But the one thing that I think people keep forgetting is he is the captain. He was the captain of Anderlecht, was he not?
Yeah.
And Anderlecht is in Belgium, by the way. But like at whatever, and it wasn't, it was a year and a half ago that he was the captain of Anderlecht. So if he's 23 or 24 now, he was 21 years old. That's pretty rare. And Anderlecht is not, it's not young boys. It's not, some second division team in Germany or Austria or something. Anderlecht is a top Belgian team. And along with, Bruges and the other one. So for him to be the captain of that team, there must be something there beyond just playing ability that will be very useful and accommodate him and suit him well in the Arsenal squad. People talk about sending him on loan as well as Nuno Tavares. I'm fine with the Nuno Tavares thing if we are to bring in the Butcher or someone else like Hickey, but Lukonga, I think, needs to grow in the team, and the Europa League format for him, like you said, is perfect. He should be playing every single Europa League game, just full stop, unless, God forbid, we need him in the Premier League due to injuries or suspension. So yes, I think we're all of the opinion that Lukonga will improve. Lynn says with Raphinha, for her, there's going to be another twist. I think that Jesus will do a PR session. Why has he chosen Arsenal over 5 Club? And how good Arteta is hoping this will sway Raphinha. Yo, join. I was just about to say the exact same thing in the exact same way.
Is that a question?
I don't know. But I like Lynn, so I put it in there. There is going to be another twist, or is there going to be another twist? I don't know. I don't think there's going to be another twist. I think, and I hope at this point, if the wage things are true, that we don't sign him. Anyone want to add to that?
Barcelona. I reckon he's going Barcelona, and I think that's the twist is that Barcelona now have money all of a sudden, because I did see not only like some random Twitter accounts, but I think a Barcelona official account announced something about those TV rights to going to 6th Street or something like that, and then
6th Street Bank
first. Yeah, so they're getting some money, and so
I think it would be funny if they posted a tweet like, is it John like Juan Laporta or something that's like the head guy at Barcelona now, or used to be, whatever. They should have him like searching through the couch to try to find little coins and euros and stuff, and be like, Raphinha, come, we got you. So yeah, all of a sudden Raphinha is going to be there, Dembele is going to extend, and Lewandowski is going to be there. They're going
to keep De Jong.
Be amazing.
That'll be great.
Neymar's coming back. It's everything. Mohamed Zubair, Milinkovic Savic for 50 mil. We'll turn that into a question. Milinkovic Savic for 50 mil. Owen, do you know much about the player? I've heard good things.
I've watched one of Canton's tactical breakdowns. Does that make me an expert in him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it makes you an expert simply because you woke up at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, by all accounts, he's absolutely fantastic. I won't lie and say that I've watched a lot of him, but what I have seen him, he does seem like a solid option. But from some very informed people, being Canton and only Canton, he seems to be his top target. So I would take his opinion with a fair bit of weight and say that for that price, I don't even think he would cost that price. I think I remember hearing something like 35 million in and around that amount. I could be wrong, but
here's the problem.
Yeah, why not?
There's no way Arsenal sign him because he's 27. They're not going to sign anyone. And I'm only half kidding. Like they're not going to sign someone that's 27 if they have an option who's 24, which I think is finally, people used to say you buy the best player now, so on and so forth. I agree with that in general, but if you're comparing players and you have the ability to have resale on one of them, then and I just don't think that they're in the mind to be buying 27, 28-year-old players.
The only way that you buy a player of 27, 28 in today's market, as you said, that used to be the case. You used to pay the big money for people, but I think everybody has copped on now to the realization that resale value is vitally important for a football club. The only time you spend money is that person going to be the key to unlock the success of getting into top four, and is he worth it? Because
it's for a final piece.
Yeah, exactly.
Piece. Although imagine passing on I just had his name in my head. The Croatian guy that used to play for Luka Modric. Like, imagine passing on him at 27. You'd be a fool at this point, because he's just got the high level well into his 30s, I think. But what do you think about Milinkovic-Savic, French? Oh yeah, okay. From Fergus, Guns and Yellow Reference. How many signings do we need? We finished the season with 18 outfield players, so need additional players. Well, the interesting thing about this, French, is that we also have a lot of people who have come back to us. Right. These are, let me see something here. This is essentially and you may recognize this slide, but this is essentially who we have on the books at this moment. This does not include Gabby Jesus, but it does include Vieira and Marquinhos. We've got 18 outfield and three goalkeepers, but we also have 9 people on top of that who we're looking to get rid of or are coming back on loan. And those include guys like Pepe, Mari, Balogun, Runnerson, Tavares, people who were on the first team. So we're not actually short of numbers right now, but I believe that the goal is to essentially swap out 5 or 6 lesser players for 5 or 6 greater players, which is a nice thing to be able to do. But how many total signings, having made 3 already, including Matt Turner, the goalie, do you think we need to make?
So I guess we're looking at the wide forward / striker. It's a goal threat, right? And that's the reason why I'm hesitant on an Elise type player, is because I see him more as a creative. I love Elise. I think he's a great player, but that was the appeal of a Raphinha, is that you see he's got finishing, he's got goal threat. So with the wide forward, we need, I think the Butcher, that left back option is absolutely necessary. And obviously he can also cover, he's a centre back primarily, he can cover DM somewhat. And so I think definitely the cover for left back. So that's 2. And then ideally, if we're talking like a brilliant transfer window in terms of incomings, you want that Tielemans, that Tielemans kind of assured cover at left 8, I guess, because I think I'm projecting that Vieira can play there. Whether or not he can start there at the start of the season, not so sure about that, but that he can at some point come in there. But like a Tielemans comes in and straight away that left 8 role, we've got something that's markedly different from Granit Xhaka that increases our output. So I guess 3 more. So if we're saying we've got 3, I guess it's 6 total.
Yeah, and we'll go to you, Owen, with the final question, and it's a good transition from what you were just talking about because it involves the Butcher. I'd be fine with a Butcher, Tielemans, and that's it for the rest of the window. I would be over the moon adding Gakpo to that or someone of that ilk. But Darren Reeds asks, if the club want the Butcher, I'm never going to call him by his regular name, by the way. If the club want the Butcher and see him as a versatile player that can save them having to buy 2 players, then why don't we just pay the 50 million euro? That's a damn good question in this case.
Yeah, and
why try to kind of like slow play this one?
Yeah, I can't for the life of me justify that whatsoever, because I've been thinking the same thing, is that I actually really like the idea of as keeping our squad as condensed as possible, still having the bodies to be able to sustain the entire season without any issues, but to keep it quite condensed. So if you have a player who can fulfill a multitude of positions, then that's better. And that is the one criticism I will have of maybe Edu up to this stage. Now, we can't look into all the factors. Maybe the player stalling, maybe the club stalling, hoping to launch a bidding war, whatever it is. But I think that especially with the failure with the Raphinha deal and it being so public, I think that they really do need to ramp up their efforts and try and get this one wrapped up, because for me, the fan base will absolutely lose their shit if another one seems to spiral down the drain. If
the butcher goes to Manchester United specifically, I'm gonna.
Well, that's the.
I'm gonna
fight,
film
isn't it?
myself screaming into the microphone for an hour.
That's the fight.
So
And
to make
they've
sure to
obviously
tune into that next Tuesday afternoon.
They've obviously got the appeal of Eric Ten Hag, so you know it's very possible that that'll be the bigger thing. But I think there definitely seems to be an element of Ajax stalling, right? Like that's what it feels like, because we are doubling down. Like there is a lot of reports that we put in a third bid of 45 million with, I don't know if that's including add-ons or add-ons on top of that. So I don't know. It feels like, and this is obviously speculation, but if we've put in 2-3 bids and they're obviously interested but not actually giving a definite yes or no answer, then are they not just maybe waiting to try and get United into it because, you know, Ten Hag saying once De Jong comes in, then we're going to spend. So I don't know. It's a tough one, man. But
they're waiting for other pieces.
I don't know if it's that simple.
They're waiting for other pieces that may or may not fall into place. We're pretty much in for him separate from other pieces, I think. And we really have to get that guy. I mean, versatility. We had versatility in Callum Chambers. He just wasn't as good as the butcher. You know, he was more kind of like the candlestick maker. But like, I mean, he could play 3 different positions, but you know, we knew kind of what he was. This guy apparently is, you know, of the 0 seconds of YouTube video I've seen of him, and the 0 second of Tom Canton's incredible 8 a.m. Transfer and tactical breakdowns and all of that I've watched of the butcher. He's the most important signing that we could possibly make in the last maybe 30 to 40 years at Arsenal, as far as I'm concerned. So with that, we will wrap up the podcast. The butcher show will not be pretty. It'll be RMSA rather than AMSR. So French, tell us where we can find you. If you are in Bristol or the general area, you got to go see this guy, heckle the guy, and then accept your punishment.
Sweet.
Because he will get you.
So Instagram jasi.bristol, and then on Twitter at French Gooner down there. Man, it's been sweet. It's been sweet. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Oh, and by the way, I almost forgot. Gooners versus Cancer, the 89 shirt. We finally, we were going to close it as of an hour ago at 10 p.m. UK time, but about 4 hours before that, we hit our 500 tickets. So we have raised over $12,555 from this one shirt alone over the last 5 or 6 months. In between our sessions, I want to thank everybody that entered that. You've got a chance to win an amazing shirt. It's always humbling when we hit these targets. And tomorrow night at 9:30 UK time, 4:30 Eastern time, we'll have a nice show with Sophie from the Highbury Squad and Ruth Beck herself making her debut on our channel. And we'll be giving away some of her art. And then, of course, the 89 shirt will go to a lucky winner, which I would hope that person's watching the show and can share a real-time reaction with me, because I'm really looking forward to giving that away. So that's tomorrow night at 9:30, and we've got so many more things going on with Gooners versus Cancer that start now that we'll be talking about over the next couple weeks. So follow that on Gooners v Cancer. And Owen, when are we going to see you again?
God knows. When you pass through me enough to come back on, I suppose. I'll be back over the weekend.
All right. Well, we'll have a good time coming up soon. Thanks to the 50 some odd of you that were in chat. If you like the pod, please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe. We're going to keep the momentum going, hopefully with a full run of shows next week with some great guests coming. We already have a few booked. And with that, I shall say, come on, you Gooners. Oh,